Let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
Hello. This is Adolph Vega with
James Tate.
and
Kristen Richard.
and all three of us are going to be reviewing Ghostbusters, the 2016 movie. As always, the remake, reboot, whatever. As always, we'll talk about the 3D element first. James, since you saw this in 3D, what do you think of the 3D?
The 3D was good, but I wouldn't say that it was primitive. That's the best way to describe it. The 3D, a lot of the effects and a lot of the things that they do, it's things coming right out at you, and you can tell that they were purposely trying to do that. It's kind of like there was a Nightmare on Elm Street where Krueger looked at the audience and then stuck his hand out and it was like 3D, and that's the best way to describe this 3D.
So it's
gimmicky and kind of obnoxious. Another interesting thing is that the majority of the 3D is used with the slime. So the majority of the time it seems like Nickelodeon Gak is shooting at you, and I don't know, it was just weird.
Okay, so do you recommend people seeing it in 3D or no? Or at least is it fun? At least?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a gimmick, yes. It's gimmicky, but I mean, why not? I mean, if you're gonna have a 3D experience, you might as well go to this one. It's okay, but it's not like Avatar good.
Okay, so it's kind of like a dumb, fun, gimmicky.
Yeah, it's
3D.
Stupid. It fits.
Okay, so I guess that would round it out to be a good 3D, I guess. It's dumb, but it's fun, but it's not terrible or anything.
Yeah, it's just gimmicky, that's all.
Now on to the movie itself. Okay, so how do we talk about this movie without spoilers? Because there's a lot of things I want to spoil, but yeah, okay. So, James, you said this was a remake. Kristen, do you agree with that? I agree completely.
Yeah, I think it was a remake. I might call it a reboot just because I think that they're probably gearing up for a part 2 of the franchise.
Maybe. It's a remake in a lot of ways. And the reason why I would say that is because it's not like they took a different direction. It's that this film is kind of does a lot of the things that the previous one did.
And I agree, because a similar situation with the university, and then they're becoming their own, their own company, and struggling to be their own company, and then they're in New York, and it's a very similar situation. So it's kind of strange that they're going to reboot it with different actors and characters and still have basically the same plot.
I didn't really understand why they did that. I was kind of hoping for, in all honesty, I was kind of hoping for, like, Ghostbusters The Next Generation or something, something along the lines of what the cartoon trying to do. But, yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, it's always hard to do a reboot or a remake of a movie, and it's one of those things where if you're going to do it, you might as well go all the way and really change it up, and this feels like they just did it for the sake of doing it for me. Kristen, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with James that maybe they could have taken a few chances. I think they did play this movie kind of safe. I think they just wanted to just a kind of movie to put out in celebration of the original movie. But they wanted to change a few things in order to make it more marketable.
Yeah. And I think that with this film, for some reason, that they were trying to kind of like combine elements from both the films, the first and second ones.
Mhm.
And by that I mean like, because there was, for some reason, there was a lot of slime in this film, like a lot, and that was kind of the big gimmick with the second one.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I like the slime from the second one. It was a neat idea, but yeah, I don't. That was kind of interesting. Or there's a scene where, minor spoiler. There's a scene where there's a bunch of ghosts and paintings, and that's kind of like the second one too.
Okay, that's fine. So this is actually the first time we really do a comedy as a comedy. And we got to comment on that because comedies are kind of hard to review because I may find that funny, but James may not find that funny, but Christin may find that only mildly funny. It's very subjective, and it's different kind of comedy for different kind of people. And comedy, this kind of comedy is very lowest common denominator, poop jokes, fart jokes, and, loud slapstick,
Yeah.
And I did not like it.
Doesn't fit Ghostbusters at all.
It just, for me, it felt flat. I did laugh a few times. I won't deny it. There were a few, but it was far in between.
Yeah, there were a couple that were, all right. There were a couple jokes that made me laugh or smile or something. But for the most part, the humor didn't fit very well. And I think the problem was with the humor is that it's nothing like the original two Ghostbusters at all. Like, you have to remember that, and maybe this is just because of the actors and the way that they portrayed the characters, it was very kind of like dry and like sarcastic humor,
And this is much more juvenile and kiddie.
Yeah, exactly.
Christy, what do you think of the humor overall in the movie?
Yeah, I agree with James. We had a few moments, Jerry and I saw this together, and we had a few moments where we, laughed, pretty heartily. But I don't remember just laughing all the way through it.
Now, let's go over the main plot of this movie. So there's 4 characters here, and then, there's paranormal activity, and there's a researcher that works in a university, and her other friend works in another university, and ghosts have started to appear in New York, and, they go to investigate, and they have another coworker that works there, and sometime down the line they find a woman that works in transit that wants to be part of the gang, and they eventually hire a receptionist, and they start going around town trying to rescue New York from ghosts, eventually finding a villain who basically wants to destroy New York for no apparent reason. I really, really hated the villain. What do you guys think?
No, he was terrible. One of the worst aspects of the film. And not to spoil anything, but his motivation is very weak. It's pretty much, I was bullied, so I'm going to destroy the world.
Yeah, I agree.
It was very, and this guy isn't a very realistic, like, villain, really. I mean, I don't get the whole, like, they kind of try and force that people think he's weird, like, the weirdo or something, like the way he talks or something. And then, like, he's the master villain and all these things. I just have a lot of problems with it. And, I can go on longer, but that would be spoilers.
Kristen, what do you think of the villain?
I didn't think that they played his story nearly well enough throughout the film, and less, I agree that his motives were a little bit flat. I mean, there are plenty of people in the world that don't connect with other people very well, or get ridiculed or made fun of, but they don't kill themselves in order to destroy the world.
Yeah, and the thing is that I brought this up with my friend that I went to see it with, and it's that up to this point, all the Ghostbusters villains, maybe besides the second one, the second movie villain was a little bit, but at least the first movie, it's like a demon god or something that wants to destroy New York, and it's like it makes a lot more sense
in the context of ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like a being of chaos, basically. You know what I mean? They didn't have that, and I'm kind of hesitant. I'd like to know why they didn't just reboot that. You know, like bring that character back as the villain.
Now, the villain, I think some of it too wasn't explained that he has a lot of the similar technology, if not superior technology to the Ghostbusters.
And that was never explained at all.
And the Ghostbusters, that's very thinly explained at the university, and they've been working on it for years. But just some average guy that apparently is like a janitor at a hotel has all this advanced technology in ghosts. And
just by reading something.
Now let's get on to the main Ghostbusters cast. We have 4 women here. And a guy. We're going to go through each one of them real quick. The first one is Julian Hotzman. She is, I guess, the equivalent to Egon, and she makes a lot of the weapons for the Ghostbusters. I really didn't like her. She reminded me of Beavis.
I hated her character. I had no idea what was wrong with her character at all. She was just... she felt like she was in a completely different film. She never took anything seriously. She was really obnoxious, and I don't know why they chose her character. Also, I don't know what it is about her design, but it bothers me. Like, it just looks strange.
She looks like a parody of Egon, and she has a weird accent. I can't really put my finger on it. And to me personally, like, smart people that know how to do all this, like, they don't talk like that. They're not like that. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt really strange. I don't know why they made her the clown. She reminded me a lot of Beavis from Beavis and Butthead. And cool explosions, and I didn't like it. All right, Kristen, what do you think of her?
Yeah, I actually liked her character. She was probably actually my favorite one of the bunch, but I think it was just because she was weird and quirky and bubbly.
Okay, I guess we totally disagree.
In a very strange, different way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think her accent was supposed to be like Southern Bronx or something, but I agree that I'm not sure exactly where it was supposed to be from.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We have Patty Talone, which is the 4th Ghostbuster. I really thought she was a black stereotype and really bad, typical attitude, I'm urban kind of thing, and I could not stand this. It reminded me, it's like the worst stereotype I've seen on screen since Mommy and Gone with the Wind. I just said, come on. She should be much more than this. And the original African American in Ghostbusters was not a stereotype. He was just a regular guy. Yeah. So I really don't like this woman either. James, what do you think of her?
Okay. I don't think she was particularly funny, or I didn't really it's hard to say, because the thing is that she's not. If you compare them, she's like an immediate downgrade to what the character she's supposed to be.
Kristen, what do you think of her?
Yeah, I thought she added a few elements to the film. I can agree that she kind of went into a stereotype, and especially with her uncle running the funeral parlor. I thought it was just, there were just so many just deep stereotypes. That being said, she did have a few funny moments, but overall, it just seemed very contrived and almost wooden, some of her lines and so forth.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is one of the main characters, like the first character you really see, Aaron Gilbert, who is very nervous and anxious, almost and awkward throughout the entire movie. And it just got my nerves that she was so nervous all the way through the movie. And she just, I didn't think she was likable at all. James, what do you think?
I mean, personally,
James, I didn't catch that. What did you say?
I said that basically I didn't like her character because I couldn't relate. I couldn't, because the thing is that if this character has experienced Ghost before, another minor spoiler, if this character is, why would she act like this?
Yeah, she doesn't really believe, even though she wrote a book.
Yeah, that was no, we're going to have to talk about that later.
All right, Christin, what did you think of her?
Yeah, she kind of reminded me of a friend of mine, just sort of awkward, trying to fit in type of person. Yeah, it's interesting that I think to fit in with an upper echelon of academics that she just wasn't able to do. And I think that was sort of a condition of her character, was there was a conflict of her trying to be a more elite scientist and at the same time having to admit that she's having paranormal experiences.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they kind of mentioned this in the movie, that she feels ashamed of that past, which I don't understand why. I mean, if she's a real scientist, then she should be like, hey, I'm going to try to prove this. I'm going to try and make my case, and I don't care if people disagree. You know, I want to get that dialogue. The dialogue is science, is talking to one another, experimenting, and doing all that, and that is what a scientist does. So I really disagree with her being, no, I don't think so. I don't. This is like,
I don't know. They scientists take risks. They're kind of crazy. They got to be more like Miss Frizzle.
Okay, let's go to the final Ghostbuster, played by Melissa McCarthy as Abby Yates. I think she plays pretty much the straight character, just like the basic every man, every woman. And she does a lot of the physical gags, and I don't really mind her too much. I think she's okay. I just think it's really strange.
Okay.
I think it's strange that she's obsessed with Chinese food. I think that was just a really weird quirk of the movie, having Chinese food being a thing that she's obsessed over in soup. But besides that, she was okay.
Yeah, all I was going to say is that she was pretty, like, average. She was the only one that, like, I kind of thought that she'd be a little bit, like, worse, but it turns out she wasn't that bad. But, yeah, she does have a couple, like, weird running gags, like, again, the soup. And I don't understand it. I never even, like, I don't get that.
All right, Christin, what do you think?
Yeah, one thing I appreciated about the whole cast is that when I heard about the all-women's Ghostbuster team, I was concerned that they would be a bunch of, 23 to 25-year-olds, sex models. And they weren't. They were all, a little older. And I thought that Abby Yates was probably one of the more likable characters in the bunch. Despite her quirks and everything, I guess that kind of added to the character. I found her performance to be likable for Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, I think she was fine for what she was. Fine. Now, okay, we got one more character. He's a male character. Christian, can you describe Kevin for me?
Handsome.
Okay. And?
Handsome.
Okay. All right. So Kevin
Yeah,
is...
I admit I was totally swept away by his character just because I like Chris Hemsworth.
Okay, Thor.
But in the movie he was sort of this good-looking guy that just had absolutely no sense and no brain at all.
He was a typical blonde.
Like stereotype. Yeah, so he was almost like the dumb blonde in a guy form.
Basically. And
Yeah.
I saw right through that. I knew that they were trying to be like, oh, I think that was a poke at sexism, and they're like, oh, we're going to reverse it, and we're going to have a dumb blonde guy in our movie instead, and he's just annoying. I really don't like him.
Yeah, I was like, Thor, go back to Ragnarok. Jeez.
I was kind of glad to see him play in something else.
Yeah. But I don't know. I didn't like his character, though, so it was just like...
You can play a funny, dumb in a certain way that works. And
yeah, okay. The problem with his character is that there's two types of dumb. There's like sincere dumb, where it's like they're stupid, but they're sincere. So like a Fry, like he's stupid, but he's sincere. He has a good heart. Kevin doesn't have that. It's not like he has a very good heart. He's kind of like selfish, and he takes a lot of the credit for himself when he really doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, like Mr. Bean is a dumb character, but he's likable dumb. And
yeah, or like the Dumb and Dumber, those guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like characters that like have a good intentions, they're just stupid. He's not one of those.
Yeah, I think, Christian, I think you could probably know more about this in comparison. Woody from Cheers is a very dumb character. You remember Woody from Cheers, right?
Sure. And I agree that he was much more sincere because he connected with people. Yeah, by the end, you got to thinking that Kevin was just good to look at, and that was about it. And, just, and like James said, just very self-centered and selfish, and he never had any touching moments throughout the entire film.
No, he never had one.
Kind of fleshed him out just a little bit. I wondered if Chris Hemsworth enjoyed making the movie. It seemed like he was enjoying it, but I wondered whether he enjoyed the role.
I don't know. I didn't enjoy watching them, so whatever. Yeah, I think for me, the movie problem is that I don't like the characters. It's not about them being women. I just don't like them. I just think they're badly written. And for me, the comedy fell flat and was just cringeworthy. I could not stand this movie. I thought it was really juvenile. And, I don't mind juvenile jokes. There's one joke in the beginning where they have a fart joke. And I was like, really? That's the movie it's going to be, a fart joke.
Yeah, Yeah, I have a story to talk about it in a longer review. But, yeah. Basically, I was blown away.
And for me, one of the things, I was like, okay, you know what? I don't like this movie. I'm willing to give it somewhat of a break. And then the ending, for me, the ending was just like a big, massive plot hole that was just there. And it was like a definition of Deus Ex Machina, where they just like, hey, everything here lined up perfectly for you. And I was like, oh, why would that happen? That's completely random. How they could solve everything just because that character happened to be there at that time in that place. I was like, whatever. No, movie, that's a very bad choice of how they managed to solve the big issue of the day. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and we could talk about that later.
All right. Christian, what do you think of the movie as a whole?
It surprised me because I went in there, I'd watched several previews of the movie, and all the previews just really left me like, I really don't want to see this film. So I guess when you're at rock bottom, the only place you can go is that, and I was surprised that it was a little better than what I thought it would be.
Okay. I thought it was way worse than I wanted it to be. So for me, I was defending it. You know, James, I defended this a lot and said they be bad trailers. I like the director. You remember, I tried to defend it, and I'm not defending it anymore. I hate this movie. It's probably one of the worst movies I've seen this year. I really, really hate it.
Really?
Yeah, that whole credit scene, I was like, oh, come on already, and I gave up. I just no, I'm not gonna sit through that. And it's just like I walked out mad that I defended this movie, mad that I wanted to be professional and like, okay, I'll enjoy it for what it is. I couldn't enjoy it. I thought it was dumb and stupid, and I hated it. So, James, what'd you think?
Okay, well, I'm kind of in the middle between Christian in your opinion, because I knew this was probably going to be bad, and I knew that the humor was going to be terrible. So I was like, okay, all right. Maybe the humor's bad, but it's getting good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, so it obviously has to be something. And I still don't understand why it has good reviews. This deserves like a not even good review.
All right, what do you think? What do you give it? Let's give us the scores now.
Okay, me personally,
3
out of 10. 3 out of 10.
I'm gonna say 2 out of 10. Kristen, what do you think?
Like I said, I didn't just absolutely hate the movie. I'm sure that it has an audience. The theater that I went was packed. Of course, it was opening weekend. I enjoyed the cameos, and I enjoyed that the movie was trying to have fun. And I had a pretty decent time watching the movie, and I actually did sit through the ending credits, but I always do. I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Okay. Well, 5 is still not, great by any means.
No, it's not a great movie. It won't stand the test of time. That's the first thing I thought. I thought that this movie is going to be dated in 5 years.
Okay, so that's going to be it for the spoiler-free version. We kind of had some spoilers in it, but not really. So we're going to have...
You can still watch. You can still watch a film with barely anything spoiled. I mean, why would you? But
yeah. So in a very rare instance, I actually hate this more than James, and James, I think that's kind of incredible.
I thought so too.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll come back and do more spoilers, and that'll be it for that. All right, hold on.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See you later.
Bye.
All right, so that's going to wrap up this podcast.
Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, love, whatever. Heart it, do something.
3D or 2D.com can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud. And if you want to send us email, our email address is email3d or 2d@gmail.com. And thank you again for listening. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.